Hey folks, we are starting a new project today. Give me a hot second here to find, to get all my signals kicked so that I can get to work here. I'm live now here and hear my voice. There I go. Alright, cool. So we're starting with a blank page and we're just going to dive in deeper. We're working on a project called Crystals of Mabar, which is a project that's heading up with Andy Old Goat Healy. He's a pretty prolific designer of adventures for Dungeons and Dragons, as well as getting into what's he been getting into lately? The word I'm looking for is called Cthulhu. He does Cthulhu type stuff on top of D&D stuff. So he's got a little bit of horror, he's got a little bit of fantasy. Great guy. Worth checking into his stuff. We'll get some links up for him here. And yeah, we've been working on an adventure together, 8th level adventure for Eberron. So it's kind of high caliber, got a lot of punch. We've been working at it here, building a structure for it for a couple months, and we're now at a place where we can start artwork production. And skip that, and that's good. That's where we're at. Okay, great. So let's see. I'm gonna pluck some of these art briefs. So let's see. Crystals of Mabar. Mabar is one of the 13 planes of existence in Eberron, and it is the realm of shadow and undeath and all the things that go bump in the night. So we've got hold on, let me get the rest of this stuff here pulled in. Clearing my shock right here, and okay, great. Reference. Get rid of that. And here. Alright, so Crystals of Mabar. It's about a manifest zone showing up in Karnath. And the team's got to do something about it. So that's a pretty worthwhile endeavor for some mid-level characters. It's going to be hard-hitting. Mabar is a plane of shadow, blots out the sun, but it is its own environment. So we've had some different type of animals and plant life that thought would be fun to have exist inside this space as a manifest zone. As the plane permeates the material world, it starts to change and pervert the world around it. And so the plant life that grows in this forest and this swamp is being warped by the undead energies of Mabar itself, creating various horrors. So plague moss, Letharia Volpina, emerald tops, ferric ivy, and mammoth of the mists. These are 5 different plants that are permeating the area as the trees and bushes and flowers of the forest and swamp rot away. This stuff takes over instead, so it becomes a weird world. I'm going to just start picking at some of these things and just ideating some of the stuff. Ideating, is that a word? I'm in the ideation process here. So there's a green theme, green and black. Mabar itself is oversaturated with darkness in general, But we want to have a little bit of color in there to keep it from being too monotone. So we went with a green theme. So I'm going to look for putrid green as a color reference. Ooh, like mustard gas, you know? Like that. Copy image. That's the stuff. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for. That is a great example of what we want to have going on in this place. Let's go. Ooh, gross. What's that? Oh, stock illustration. Yeah, okay, that'll work. The stock illustration. I'm borrowing it. That's what good artists do. They borrow from each other. Thanks, whoever. Save. I'm gonna close that out real quick. Open it back up. I screw my tab window. Jump back in here. This is me building a visual board. I generally just do references off of Google to find marshmallow head. Future growth of Dragon Thunder. Huh. Well done, Dragon Thunder 08 on DeviantArt. Your contribution to society is greatly appreciated. So when you don't see color, this is a colorblind segment. When you don't see color, you have to find. You can work in color if you don't see color by pulling in visual assets from photographs and painting resources that you trust to build your color palette for you, that you can then use instead of black and white. So that's what I do here. I find different assets online. I do a color check over here just so I can see what I'm looking at to make sure I know where I'm working. That all seems to jive. This is a ground effect here, so I'm doing a comparison. I'm looking at some of the ground color samples here versus color samples here to see what's different. Like this has got more of a blue bend than what this piece down here has. So I may not want to use this, but this could be useful for highlights and stuff. So I want to keep it in mind. But yeah, you know, honestly, no, it's pulling away from the color palette that I actually want. So I'm going to drop this one. And these two pieces seem to be pretty good. Definitely want to keep track of that. And this ground reference is really good. So we're going to do, so now that we've got that kind of spitballed, I don't need to do full pages. This is going to be spot art stuff. I want to talk about spot art, like for little plants and things. I'm generally talking about like an area like this. So it doesn't need to be huge, but there's going to be like, you can see here that these different references here, like free transform. We pan out a bit. Like when we pull this forward, if we're looking at an 8.5 by 11, this text block is going to be something like that. So that means that the illustration that we build with it, only needs to be so big. So yeah, we're just going to spitball a little bit and see what we come up with. You know what? I'm going to use. Let's find swamp moss. Let's see what that pulls for us. Images. Yeah, like this sort of stuff. That's a good reference too. So that should be sufficient for me to be able to get the ball rolling here. And we'll see how things shake out. So I can keep the sideboard over here. I can keep this side of the board reference stuff, and then on this side of the board I can do little spot art pieces. So let's see what we're going to start with. We're going to start with Plague Moss. Plague Moat Moss. This menacing moss grows on most areas that moss can grow typically. Text is still in process. It is a deep green color and is always damp to the touch with an odor that will turn in the stomach. On closer inspection, tiny nodules hold noxious spores that release on contact. Every hour spent without proper protection, masks of Mabar florets will increase the saving throw against plague marks. For every 2 plague marks an adventurer gains while in the presence of plague moss, the moss grows a foot in all directions. Okay, plague marks. When you're in this, manifest zone of Mabar, it's seeping this poisonous gas, and anything that touches, anything that's alive that touches it acquires this statistic, this running tally of marks that demonstrate how plagued with this poisonous gas you are, and the more you accumulate, the more the plane infects and corrodes you. So marks are bad. They can be expunged in a number of ways that adventurers can discover during the course of the adventure. But hapless citizens and normal village folks that get marked by this plague of Mabar, their life continues to get worse until the manifest zone claims them and makes them their own. So I'm going to hit save here. See if it's gonna save or not. It looks like the thing is just locked up. Yeah, I got locked up somehow. So I don't know, man. I've been thinking about Krita in comparison to Photoshop. Photoshop costs money every month. Krita doesn't cost anything. That's Photoshop's gonna have to make a pretty strong argument for me to decide to keep using it. If if they want their money, they should really try harder. But okay, so moss is pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at what we got going on inside this muck. Let's grab just some light and dark here on the color palette. That's a good place to start. It's a really good place to start. That's a great place to start. This, I'm just building a color palette here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab this groundwork stuff like that. Yes. There's some greenish. I see you, greenish. My hair's all fretting in my face today. I don't know what my problem is. Okay, that's a loose color palette I can use. Drop that to the background. Thank you, background. There we go. Like I said, we're just gonna do some spot art stuff here. So I'm not gonna kill myself over it. I'm just gonna make some ground. Let's get some texture going here. Let's grab a good brush for that. What is it? 6:40. Got my coffee. I'm gonna give the man his dues today, and going to work for a bit, and by going I just mean log on and do the stuff with the emails and the calls and the workflow process and all the things. But I'm gonna give the man my pound of flesh for the day, and I think I will be doing some. I'll be doing some page walkthroughs for the most recent book that I published, which is Elemental Key, which is a really fun book about converting monk key in D&D into so it's devoted to the elements, earth, air, wind. Air, earth, fire, water, as well as an alternate color dynamic, which is using the 5 colors of mana, 5 colors of magic from Magic the Gathering, which is I don't want to get too hard onto that. Let's see. Let's grab a texture here. Let's do something like that. Up this a bit. We'll just punch in a little bit of texture here, and then we're gonna see this brush. We're gonna see this brush showing up again and again, I think, in this project. I feel like it is going to have presence and purpose. But yeah, later on today, after I get the work done that I need, like a lunch break sort of thing. I got some stuff in the morning and stuff in the afternoon I got to get done. But once that is taken care of and I got my lunch going on, I'm technically on vacation, but I'm giving my time anyway because I got things to do, responsibilities and stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing some lunchtime stream, going over some pages. I'm going to be talking about magic paradigms in Dungeons and Dragons and the different paradigms that we're using in this book that I made. We're also going to be looking at alternate spell lists that can help define the flavor and complement the function of classes being designed in D&D. And we'll probably I'm going to do some more character art later on tonight. We might be doing some character art commission this afternoon. And then I'm going to have some family time to myself, and then I'll be back later on tonight to finish up the Cleric of Letharia that I've been working on for this character commission and get into the detail work for the Artificer next. So, not sure if it's going to be done on the first like I had originally hoped, but it's going to get done soon enough. Life does what it does. Just creating a little bit of ground texture there. That's pretty good for now. And then let's start here. Let's look at a different type of brush. I'm going to get in here for some additional texture. Let's see. Let's go with this conifer. Let's go with this conifer branch here first. We got a ton of custom brushes I have built after studying Bob Ross for a while. Since Bob Ross is basically most of his techniques involve stippling and what you would see similar in ink blocks, like Japanese ink block art, like the block woods and they press on it to make patterns. His techniques are very similar to that, actually. And so you have to create a number of, a little bit of a fade there. Most of his techniques is about layering in stipples of different random patterns to be able to create a semblance that looks like floral patterns. So as you can see, I'm going, God, that's turning out really good. So I'm going to drop down here and grab the smudge brush that I typically use. I'm going to drop it down to a really low size, but a really high really high strength, so it pulls at the pixels really strong. So I can smudge it a little bit in, but still have the rough texture. God, that looks really good. Going in there. Then we're going to grab, we'll do that. I'm gonna duplicate this layer so I don't lose this texture in case I don't like what happens, but I want to create some negative space here as well. Try to punch a bit of a hole through some of it. Good enough. Now I want to grab this under this darker color for the shadow effect. I'm going to flip it upside down. Nope, that is not. Not working here. Why is that not working? Oh, because I fused everything onto the same layer. That's really dumb. I want to use this next layer that I got going on here, so I can get this moss to sit on its own layer, so I can erase it without destroying the ground beneath it. Since this has this elongated shape, the angle of the brush causing it to curve creates a topography. It animates the ground a little bit more than just being a flat plane. And now I'll flip the brush upside down or at an angle, like a perpendicular angle, to muck with. When it erases, it doesn't just overlay and erase the exact same patterns. It has a contradictory pattern that it's removing, so that it creates a lot more random variables and makes it a little bit more animated. So that is, I think, a bit too low of an opacity. I'm going to up that up a bit, like the 30%. That'll help. That'll help deteriorate that brightness a little quicker. And again, since I don't see any color, I'm working strictly off of the values, the contrast of light and dark. And Mabar, as a plane of shadow, doesn't have any light in it, but since it's invading a forest in the material world of Eberron, then there is a color effect that gets to be implemented. So that is. It's got more of a woodish grain effect going on. So I'm going to go in here with this brush, this smudge brush that I built. I'm going to flatten it down a bit, and I'm going to pull at the edges a little bit here. I'm going to drop the opacity down to the strength down to 20%, so it doesn't pull too hard. I'm just trying to muddle this up a little bit. That to 40% just to be able to cut into a little bit more. And then I'm going to overlay it like this. Should be seeing some good texture starting to pop up. Yeah, we do. We're starting to see some good texture popping up. I'm going to drop the opacity on this a bit, just to make it fade into it overall, but still have a little bit of, like you can see these little pops here. Start to look really good. Now I want to grab some of these highlights, even though I'm not particularly interested in having a bright effect. I'm going to switch up the brush that I'm using, though, since these are the since this is the stuff that's sitting on top. Let's see, what's a brush here that I think I can enjoy using? Let's go with this coral clump that I created. Let's see what that looks like on its own. Blurp. Yeah, not bad. So I'm going to drop this down to here. I'm going to drop the opacity of this brush down to 20%. I'm just going to blip some of this in. Blip, blip, blip. Blip, blip, blip. And since we're pulling back here on the page, I'm going to drop down the size of the brush so that the patterning isn't too obvious. And then what we typically do is when I erase, again, I grab the same type of brush and I'll either flip it upside down and then I change the angles of engagement that it uses so that it has a, how do I get rid of that? No, I want to keep that. It has a different feel to it. I feel like, I want to see what happens if I try to use this brush to smudge. I'm okay with that. It's not the best smudge, not the best brush for smudging, but I should be able to pull it into the space a little bit. Up that strength like 60%, 70% there. How much is that adding? It's adding some. I need to have this under layer, but I want to drop it down so it's just more texture than actual color information. And I don't want to get rid of that too much. More like around the fringes here. Carve that up a little bit, just to take some bites out of it, just to keep the texture random, keep it a little consistent but not uniform. I think that's a good way of putting it. Consistent but not uniform. That feels really good. All right, now I'm going to drop in over the top, drop back down here. Grab this texture again here. This is going to lay over everything, so I'm expecting to drop this in and then delete a lot of it. But it'll help break it up a little bit more. There we go. That opacity to 60%, so it's got a little bit more kick. You can see I'm playing with the edges here. I want to create a texture in this space here, so that there's a little bit of an idea of how this stuff sits on its own. Up the intensity of that eraser. Come back through here and erase around the edges where most of the darkness is at, so that it starts to grind into the page a little bit better. too far. Delete. Make this a little bit larger. Transform. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think I like it like that. I like it like that. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Okay, cool. So that is Big Moss. I wish that wasn't so regrettable. Just want to do that. that down and then pick at it a little bit here along the edges. That's a nice little patch of moss. Not bad. All right, cool. What's next? Let's see. Letharia Volpina. This bright, glowing lichen grows in some regions of the plague mist, highest heat levels. It grows on stones and ground patches that hold heat from underground natural springs. An adventurer proficient with a poisoner's kit can make a dangerous poison from this lichen. So let's look at what lichen is. Let's look up L-I-C-H-E-N, lichen. Ooh, neat. This stuff is cool. Okay. Volpina lichen. I need to step away for a second. Forgive me while I do so. I just need to refill my coffee and turn down the heat. It is ridiculously warm in here this morning. I messed with my temperature on my thermostat and I regret my decisions. Where are we at? We're at 7:12 here. I bet I can put this lichen into place and then probably call it a morning. Make a dangerous poison from this lichen. Any creature that inhales or ingests this poison must make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw. The target begins to choke on a failed save and cannot breathe. At the beginning of each target's turn round, they must repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on a successful save. If the target fails any saves by 5 or more, or fails 3 times, period, not just in a row, but at all, they must repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on a successful save. If the target fails any save by 5 or more, or fails 3 times, they gain a plague mark, which we'll see more of as the adventure proceeds. Each round until a successful save is made. The dust is known as swamp sleep by those who use it and sell it. A vial of poison sells for 150 gold pieces. That's really cool. I am into that. So let's check out the colors that we're going to use here. Okay. I'm going to boom, 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 boom. Six ba-bomb. We got sax ba-bomb. We're here to sell shit and play music. I'm going to use the same base. I'm going to let's switch to this the stone brush that I use. Let's get the opacity to a place where it's going to have some sort of meaning. building a little block here. Since it's got this straight edge, I like to have that straight edge leading on the outskirts of whatever form I'm creating. And since this is just a stupid rock, don't have to sweat too hard over it. But I do want to make sure that I'll use this chisel here to keep it legit. I am just building a rock here after all. It doesn't have to, I don't have to break myself over it, but I'm still going to sweat the details just because that's how I sweat. Again, keeping that straight edge along the outskirts of the form that I'm creating. What's going to end up happening is once I have enough visual language about this different flora and fauna, I can then build border art out of it. That is the ultimate goal here, is to have a visual language that I can be able to cut and paste into the environment as just like ground texture, and then beyond that is highlight it as like around like in the corners here, like where you put page numbers and stuff. I can put like these little environmental things to help ground it into its own unique piece. All right, that's enough of a shape, Kearney. So let's just keep moving along, shall we? Right now we're just building the form of the rock that we're going to put the lichen on. So I just want to make sure I have some of this topography in place, so I have an idea of how the lichen might curve around the piece. And I want to have these like little, I'm using 100% so that any pixel I pull just gets pulled forever. Because when you carve into these things and you start chopping it up, you get these weird little, lines of gap that get pulled through it, which creates fun little shadow opportunities. Like that. Like I'll come through here and I'll hit delete a couple times here and there to create form shadow to help form the shape a little bit better. But then again, I'll come through and I'll pull all this through it, and I'm going to now drop the opacity down to about 50%. 60, whatever. That's just to smudge that up a bit, pull that together. You see, I'm working on a lower opacity now than 100%, because now that I've got some of the form there, I just want to start dropping this dark color over it. You can see you got the lichens, or the lichens that we're using are brighter than the other substances here, so it'll have good dichotomy. It'll have a good value read. It'll pop really well. It should anyway. If I know my numbers right, and I generally do. Don't actually know what I'm looking at, but I know what the numbers tell me. nicely. Drop the size of the brush so I can change the texture a little bit. I'm liking how that's going. I care too much about this rock. Good. We're almost done with that. Now we can go in here and grab some of that. Let's see what we want to do. No, not that. I'm looking for the brush that one here. I don't think you guys can see the color palette that I'm pulling from, or the brush palette that I'm looking at here. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, okay, you can see some of the brushes. That's sad that's not popping. There we go. Now you should be able to see what I'm looking at. I'll keep that in mind. Let's see. Here's all the different brushes that I build. Let's see what I like. I think I can actually. Yeah, let's go with that. That's a default for now. Good. I'm glad that you guys can see that. I'll keep that in mind, that if I bring this over here, that'll pop up in the space that you guys can actually see. That's super useful for future reference. I use the same brush to erase. I'm going to use 100%. I'm going to actually use a much larger size brush in this instance to erase some of this, to break that up, and then I'm going to go back in. It's got this layering, papery, feathery effect going on that I kind of like. Drop the size of the brush and use a really low opacity, it's like 20%. And I don't want this light to extend much beyond the border of the rock form that it's sitting on, because it's supposed to be like more of a cast shadow, an undergrowth, like shadowy effect. So it's gonna stay within the confines of the shape that is growing on. The leafy stuff on top of it that it will build is going to be able to break past the borders of this substance. I'm gonna switch that up. The smudge brush that I typically use, just so I can ground this in a little bit. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Now, let's go. Good. Let's see. I think I want to use a different brush here. Let's see. Let's see how this fractal brush does. It's not often the solution that I want, but sometimes it surprises me. Yeah, no, not so much. Let me give it a shot. Next. You know what? This corn husk spin brush might be useful in this instance. So I'm going to drop the shape a little bit so it's got more of this angle. See, it's such a distinct shape, it's easy to see the patterning on it. So that's something I need to be careful about. Don't think I'm going to like that. But I'm gonna stick with it just for a minute, just for the lark. Just a little lark of being here. Go with I might end up going with these branch. Yeah, I like how that's working out. The eraser is doing all the real work here. The corn husk brush that I painted into isn't so valuable. The negative space that I'm getting from this conifer branch is definitely the one that's putting in the work here. But this is super useful because it's got these little leafy type effects going on here. It's got this curve that's really useful. Just grabbing this color and I'm pulling it down. Get curvature going. And then we'll use that brush again to fake the texture over the curve. Since the color is doing the work, creating the form there, and then I can come through here and I can pick at that, create the texture. Pretty useful. There we go. 7:30. We're doing pretty good. I don't mind taking time. Like I said, we're doing some ideation here today. We're just playing with stuff. Don't do a lot of MOSP, so I just wanted to poke around to see how it feels. I'm liking this though. Feeling pretty good. Okay, now let's grab some of these bright spots. Double check our description here. Glowing lichen. Okay, so this will be fun. Let's change that corn husk. Let's get out of that corn husky stuff and let's see what we got going on here. Something I think is going to be fun for an easy curve texture. Let's go with, nothing wrong with the bush burst. That is a go-to that I enjoy a lot. So we'll do this. See, it's got this nice curve to it. It's pretty fun. Let's see how that sits. It's got this weird spin to it though. I forgot about that. I'm not necessarily a fan of the spin. Nice. Thanks, bot. Nothing helps me feel like I'm not neglected like a bot. So we'll do that, and then we're gonna come back through with the same eraser brush that I was using before. Keep it real. Bring it down here. I think the bots look for somebody that's been streaming for an hour plus. I'm pretty sure that's how their algorithm works. So like, oh, we don't think that such an active stream that people are paying attention to it. That's like one of those like music stations that just like turns on and just keeps playing. I suspect that's what they think they're looking at, and they can get away with botting on it. I don't know how to delete bots personally. So for now, I tolerate their presence because I can't stop them. All right, now let's do that again. This time, let's use this foliage brush. Oof, boy, I do not like how chaotic that is. Let's go into Windows. Let's get rid of the scattering. You're still, what's that spin coming from, buddy? Windows is brush settings. The shape dynamic, that's what it was. Wait, oh, I might want to keep some of that shape dynamic. Angle jitter, that's what I'm looking at. I'm going to drop that down like super significantly. I like the size jitter though, I think I want to keep that in place. There we go. That feels a lot more friendly now. Too dense. Yeesh, yeah, no. So we're going to okay. Now that we got there like that, let's do put some texture around this guy just a little bit to ground him into the plane a little bit better. You'll see what we got going on here in a minute. I need some dark around the general form, so that when I do the iridescent effect, it'll pop better. It's not going to show against white at all. I need this dark value here to make it really pop out. Where are we at? 7:40? Okay, we're almost done here. We are actually almost done here. This has been productive. I'll be able to come back tomorrow morning just like this and finish up these other little plant ideas. I'm going to duplicate that layer. We're going to drop the opacity on the one underneath it here. And we're going to go to filter, cheap little Gaussian blur. Start like, actually, there. We'll go back to this one. I'm going to go filter, then blur, then Gaussian blur. There. I'll take this, and then we'll also filter, blur, Gaussian blur. No. There. And then we can here. There, lichen. Sure what that purpose thing was. But yeah. A little too uniform. Not necessarily happy with that. We can come back and that one's good. Let's go back through here and hit this one like this. So is that vertical? It's the straight lines I want to get rid of. They feel a little. They're too structured. Nice, cool. That is the effect I think I were looking for. I do want to more bot. Oh, hey, how you doing? Thanks, Eric. It's really kind. Thank you. Very kind to say. Thank you so much. I'm going to be finishing up here in a minute, but we're going to be working on these. Just as a reminder, what we're working on here. These are the different Eberron Mabar plant life that we're creating for this. We did the plague moss here, and then we got Letharia Volpina, which is an iridescent moss. And then tomorrow, same time, we're going to come back. We're going to work on ferric ivy, the emerald top fungus, and the mammoth of the mist. So we got another 3 of these we're going to do, and what's the spiel? Like, subscribe, blah blah. Jump on board, because I'm going to be coming back again and again to make sure we make this happen. So I'm just going to take another minute here just to ground this stuff into the shapes that we've already built. Get that reference out of the way. Copy and paste. I'm just going to keep coming back here. Right now we're doing flora. Then we're going to be doing some, I think we're going to be doing some maps next. So we'll probably do this tomorrow. And then we'll come back and we'll start doing some map making. Probably on Friday. That's it. This is pretty good. Round that in a little bit more here. Merge that down. Ground that in a touch. That's too strong. Where am I at? 51? Yeah, I got like 4 minutes. Here, I'm going to do a really low opacity. I'm going to thin this up a bit here like that. I'm going to pick at these edges a little bit. A little higher intensity than that. Should be like around 30%. Yeah. Little bit of texture. I don't know why I'm not getting the signature that I want here. Something's gone awry. What went wrong? I'm gonna drop this down like that. Oh, is that all that radiance? Oh my god. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. Right there. Get the rock to just sink into this space a little bit better. There, that should read better. I just erased it all. What is your point? There. There. Yep. Okay, that's pretty good. I am out of time. So we're just going to let it sit there for today. Like these things are like on a page, like here's your normal page. Like these things are going to end up being like more like this side, like sitting next to the little block of text here and then having this next to it. So like we can fit 5 of these on a page. So it'll be fun to fill up the page, like fill up the page with the flora, and then we'll have another page. Like these are appendices. So each of these at the end of the adventure fills up with this different content. So, but I'm designing these things to be like just little spot art things, so that I can, wherever it is that when we do our page layout, however we need to have these actually sit on the page, we can fill, like we know we can fill the content with the text and the images, and we're not concerned about a page count because we're controlling the production. It's only a PDF anyway, so we can afford to go in and do cool environment stuff like this, and like the buildings and different rooms, different objects. You're going to be seeing like crystals here in a little bit. We're going to be doing some constructs, some undead, old dilapidated buildings, the maps that go with it. The hooks have different characters that are inviting the heroes to go and explore the space. So we're going to see a number of different characters in the Eberron setting that are leading the characters to these different locations. This lichen stuff that I'm working on, I'll probably end up like putting little spots around here, like along the edges as well as inside this mass, so like it sits in there like a rock, like it's sunk in a little bit. But anyway, I gotta go. I gotta hit save here, and so I gotta go. Gotta do the day job. So I'm gonna check out, and I am super looking forward to being back. I'll probably be back around lunchtime to do some page walkthroughs of Elemental Key, the book I just came out with. And then later tonight, we're going to do some more character commission art for Hashi's happy birthday. So I appreciate anyone checking this out. Like, subscribe, share, comment, be involved. Would love to have you. And see you on the other side. Cheers.